Okay, on this video, I am going to talk specifically about what you can drink in a fasted state and what you should avoid drinking in a fasted state. So, as always, I'm bringing you the research. I want to make it practical for you. I want to help you think through this process of what are you going to drink when you're fasted so that you can make the right choice for you. And I'm bringing you the research on some drinks that are common drinks that we drink a lot that may assist your fasting efforts. So again, hope this helps. Got a lot of science for you. And as always, you guys are amazing. If you love this video, share it out into the world. If you're new to my channel, subscribe. I've got tons of information for you to help you on your health journey. So hope it helps. Okay, Dr. Mindy here, and I wanted to do a video for you guys on what you can drink while you're fasting. So we get this question all the time, and I want to help you think it through, and then I want to bring you some of the science that I found on different drinks you may be drinking during a fast and their effects on your blood sugar. So drinks like coffee and teas and diet sodas, things like that. I have a lot, again, bringing you the science. I have lots of science for you to show you exactly what is going to pull you out of a fasted state and what isn't going to pull you out. So let's start with this idea. When you go into a fast, now you guys know, if you've been following me here on my channel, you know that I am a fan of fasting variation. And I have laid out 7 different fasts for you here, and each fast has a different intention behind it. So when you go into a fast, the first thing to ask yourself is, what are you trying to accomplish? So in general, when I quote studies like the MIT study showing that you reboot intestinal stem cells, when you look at Walter Longo's studies on 3-day water fasts, I want you to understand that in those scenarios, that was a very controlled environment, and the only thing that those people drank, or the mouse study was done on the 24-hour fast and intestinal stem cells, all they drank was water. So they didn't have all these variables. But when you're trying to live a fasting lifestyle, it's really important to know, to have some flexibility and be able to, I love to drink mineral water. I love my cup of coffee. Those kind of things become important so that you can sustain this through the long haul. So that's why I wanted to do this video for you. So let's start with this idea. What breaks a fast? And the first thing to realize is that anything that raises your blood sugar is going to take you out of a fasted state. So again, if you followed me at all, you hopefully know that I am a huge fan of testing your blood sugar. So what I want you to do with any of the drinks you want, or any of the things I'm going to show you the science on right now, is the greatest test is to ask yourself, you take a blood sugar reading, and then you take drink the actual drink, and then a half an hour later, you take another blood sugar reading. If at that half an hour mark, your blood sugar has gone up, it is pulling you out of a fasted state. And all the benefits that we know about fasting are going to be compromised at that point. So even on these things I'm going to mention, some of these drinks I'm going to mention, it's important that you personalize it for yourself and you do tests with the blood sugar. Okay? Now, let's start with this idea. Which drinks do we know are going to elevate? Like, research is showing absolutely across the board, there's a good chance this drink is going to elevate your blood sugar when you are in a fasted state. And the only thing that I could find on this particular elevating of the blood sugar was aspartame, which is NutraSweet. So diet drinks, those of you, and we've gotten these messages from you before, but when you are asking if you can have a diet soda in a fasted state, or a diet Gatorade, or something with NutraSweet in it that has aspartame, what we know, and I'll put link the study in here for you, but what we know is that aspartame can act as a chemical stressor, and it can increase your cortisol levels. So, and this study went on to say that people who were drinking diet drinks on a regular basis became more insulin resistant. How crazy is that? I mean, that's a whole nother topic, right? Because we drink diet drinks to help our weight, most people, and yet here's a study showing that it can contribute to insulin resistance. So I'm not a fan of NutraSweet in any moment in time, but if you are using it as a tool while you're in a fasted state, it's likely pulling you out of that fasted state and is doing more harm than good. Okay, that was the only one I could find, by the way. Now you're going to love the next ones that I mentioned here, which are drinks that we know will lower your blood sugar. Now, the first 1, 2, 3 drinks that I want to talk about are all the studies were done postprandial. What that means is that they would give this drink and then they would see how quickly it brought the blood sugar down. So it wasn't done in a fasted state. But this is the research we have, so I want to bring it to you. So the first drink that has the potential to lower your blood sugar is green tea. So you guys have probably heard this. I want to read you the quote that researchers found, and this was a mouse study, that when mice were given EGCG, which is the antioxidant in green tea, that their blood sugar spike that typically occurs after a meal was reduced by 50% when compared to mice that were not given that antioxidant. So, I mean, I'll tell you, in researching this, I'm thinking, I'm going to try some green tea in a fasted state, and I'm going to do the blood sugar test and see what it does for me. So that was green tea. Second one, this is really interesting as well, is black tea. Okay, here's what we know about black tea. Lots of great studies. Many of them are done on humans. And in this particular study, they've said that black tea will reduce your blood glucose after sucrose consumption. So this was postprandial. They gave people a sucrose pill, and they found that if they gave that sucrose pill with black tea, that their blood sugar dropped at 60, 90, and 120 minutes later. They started to see that the black tea brought the blood sugar down, and they compared it with a placebo group. So it was compared to this other group. It had a dramatic ability to bring the blood sugar down. Now, this study is really cool. It goes on to say that they have looked at 50 different countries, and they have found that the countries with the highest level of black tea consumption were associated with the lowest incidence of type 2 diabetes. And by the way, US is at the bottom of black tea drinking. And it says that Ireland and UK, Turkey, and Russia were at the highest black tea drinking. Just a little interesting side note. So black tea, try that in a fasted state. See if it brings your blood sugar down. Okay, third thing, oolong tea. So we're back at all these teas. And I know if some of you are probably like, whoa, I haven't been even trying tea. I don't know if tea, how that would work in fasted state. So here's what we know about oolong tea. Oolong tea is effective in lowering plasma glucose levels in people who have type 2 diabetes. And they found that it was more effective than lowering plasma glucose with drugs alone. So it had an added effect for type 2 diabetics compared to if they were just using drugs. If you added in oolong tea, it would bring it down. That's pretty cool. Okay. Fourth thing, and this isn't really a drink, but this is in a lot of drinks, and we get asked this question a lot, and that's stevia. So the research, I could not find any research showing that stevia raises glucose or raises insulin. I know Dr. Fung has mentioned this before. I can't find any research on that, but I did find research that showed that stevia, this was a preload. So they gave stevia prior to somebody eating a meal, where those other ones I mentioned were after the meal. And they found that consuming stevia lowered the glucose levels much more than if they didn't do stevia with their meal, or pre-meal. Okay? So how cool is that? So there's some things that you can look at to do when you're fasted. Now, I personally would tell you to continue to test your levels and measure the blood sugar and see how that works, so that you're clear that it's working for you. Just because it works for these studies, it may not work for you. Okay, I have to throw one more in because I know you guys are going to ask this. What about coffee? I didn't mention anything about coffee. There is a lot of research, human research, showing that coffee can bring down blood sugar as well. So here's a study that was 110 Dutch men, 1,100 Dutch men and women. So that's a pretty big study that they found that when you drink coffee, that you reduced your chance of glucose impaired tolerance, which basically means you reduce your chance of insulin resistance. That drinking coffee can decrease your chances of getting insulin resistance. So, but again, you got to test it on you. So those are a really interesting way to look at it. I want to address carbonated mineral water here in a moment, but I want to point out to you that when you go into a fasted state, if you're wanting the purest result possible, then you're going to want to just drink water. But if you're wanting some variation, then these are some great suggestions: teas, coffee, but test it on yourself. And the last thing that I'll point out here is carbonated mineral water. We get this question a lot. Same rule applies. I could not find any research showing me carbonated water is affecting your glucose levels. So I don't have any great science for you on there because we haven't seen anything. But again, I would say if you're fasting on a regular basis and you want to reach for some carbonated water to help you get over that hump, then great, do it. But again, test it with your blood sugar. So there you go. What can you drink while fasting? If you want the purest result, drink water. If you're needing some variation, I just gave you a long list of some teas and coffees and mineral water and things you can drink. And the number one thing to know is please avoid aspartame. Please avoid the diet sodas when you're in a fast. That not only are they harmful to you, but they're going to pull you out of a fasted state. So let me know. Was that helpful? You guys like this more practical information? I really want to give you some hands-on information to make your fasting efforts best. So give me feedback. And as always, from the bottom of my heart, I just love this community. I love you guys. I love you support.